All right, so data analytics masterclass part two. We are starting with Microsoft Power BI. All right, and before we go into the software proper, just few of these rules that I'm very sure we are aware of. Let's be punctual, mute when not speaking, and we can use the chat box effectively. So while I'm talking, you might have one or two questions you want to ask, and maybe you don't want to ask at the moment in order not to distract us, so you can just drop it in the chat box. I will definitely answer our questions. I'm always looking for questions. So of course, I trust we'll engage ourselves respectfully, and then let's participate actively. From our first section, I believe you know that's something about me. You need to participate. Even if you don't want to talk, I'll call your name. And then feedback matters a lot. Then additions are welcome. So that someone is a facilitator does not mean he knows all, right? So you can have a better idea or a more practical idea you want to share it. Just like the last class we had, someone said, "Oh, I work with the health sector." Another person in another sector and things like that. So if you know you have something much more relevant, you can just speak up and then let's all learn from you. I can share my own views from different perspectives too. You can also share yours. We are just all trying to broaden our knowledge. All right, so this is my own personal teaching model. So what we'll be starting with now is a case study. I prefer to adopt this my own personal model because it helps drive the whole thing home. So this model, what it's all about is just we'll see ourselves as data analysts working for an organization, let's say data IT professionals, right? And then you see yourself as a data analyst. What is my task? What is expected of me? So, what is the right tool to use? And then we'll provide insight. So that's just what this my own teaching model is all about. So, whenever we are starting a new software, for instance, let's say Tableau, I will start with a case study. You are a data analyst in so company. Your boss has asked you to do so and so. So that's a case study, and then from there you can bring out the action required. Another advantage of this, my personal model, is that I don't teach theory, right? So I want you to take that thing to either your workplace or your research or whatever. So, and of course, when you get to a new workplace, this was the same thing your boss will present to you, oh, guy, these and the problems we have, and then we want to cover up on these, we need insight on this. From whatever they mentioned, you can derive the action required. So that action required is what will lead to is just like our statement of problem, SOP, right? That's it's from there we'll be tackling some problems and then want to bring out an insight that we align with those action required initially. So when we have a case at hand and then you've already noted the action required, the next thing that should come to your mind is okay, which software uh, can address this problem? Which software can actually give me the analytics that I need? Which software is in the best position to give me the visual or the insight or whatever I need? Is it SQL? Is it Epidata? Is it SPSS? Is it Stata? Is it R? Is it Python? Which one can actually solve it for me? So that's the place of tool. And then from there, don't forget what I said initially. The whole essence of data analytics is for you to provide an explanation, to give an insight. All right, so one of the things that will also make our class a bit lively, all through these are remaining 19 sections, is our brain teasers and quiz. There will be scores. So like 2 marks, like 5 marks, especially the brain teasers, there will be 5 marks for those who actually got it correctly. And let's say first three, right? And there's a reward for that at the end of or towards the end of this training. I'm going to announce what the reward is. Quite encouraging. Okay, so for now, I think this is the scoreboard we have. I have not updated this. Please, I think some people, I guess you paid, but you did not do the registration. I don't know. So we are here to get the, what's it called now? At the back end, we don't get your name and the student ID. So please just do the normal registration so that, and I decided to use our first name. Don't forget this will be a video that will be shared with the participants. So I don't want to use our full names so that, I don't know, you might not prefer that. All right, so this is the scoreboard for now. Everybody is on zero, everybody is rank one. And so we'll go to the first brain teaser before I'm going to open the software. That will be the first thing we always do in all our classes, the first brain teaser. So I'll be looking at the chat box. You have just like 3 minutes to give me answer to this, please. Everybody. Yes, I know we won't check Google or any other AI. So I'm expecting our responses, please. Just drop it in the chat box. There's no need to talk to the other person who don't get the idea. So I'll be expecting our responses. All right, so the first print is you conduct a survey of 100 people to determine their favorite fruits. After analyzing the data, you find that 80 people said they like apples, 60 like bananas, and 50 like both. How many people said they only like apples? And then from the responses in the chat box, Samuel said 30, Tosin said 30, Paul F said 30, Bisola A said 30, Muyiwa O said 30. Well, what is the correct answer? We'll see that on the chat box. Sorry, in the next slide rather. So yes, we are correct. 80 people said they only like apples. How did we arrive at that? 80 total apple lovers minus 50 who like both. So the correct answer is actually 30. That makes sense. That makes sense. And that is noted. Those who actually answered correctly have 5 marks already. I think everybody has same mark. So we are all still on the same rank. All right, that's good. So let's proceed. Okay, so now what is the case study? Please just follow me carefully. I don't just jump on the software and things like that. I love us to be very practical. So you now, you just see yourself as your name. You are part of a data analytics team at a retail company that sells various products online, right? So many times they will not always invite us except they discover a problem in the trend, of their revenue, of their sales and marketing strategies and all that. So now the management has noticed a fluctuation, notes that's the problem that requires an action. They noticed the fluctuations in their sales performance over the past few months, and they are concerned about understanding customer buying patterns and identifying underperforming products. I already shared the this thing we'll be using, what's it called now? The data set we'll be using. So I'll open that shortly. So now, since that is the case study, what is the action required? Now, we are tasked with analyzing the sales data from the last quarter to providing actionable insight. Take note of that, actionable insight. So our goal is to create an interactive dashboard that highlight key performance indicators such as total sales, what is the total sales, what is the total sales by product category, and what is the customer demographic. Now let's go to the tool. So that will take us to Power BI. I'm seeing another online link joining the call. Well, okay. So that will take us to Power BI. So before I'm going to share, the Excel we'll be using today, I would just like to share one or two things about some Excel work that I'm sorry, not Excel, Power BI work that I've come across before, right? So actually, this is how Power BI looks like. Very simple, very interactive, and so lovely. So this like an organization that deals with phones or that deals with more like a place like Nigeria. I want to talk about MTN. So just internet providers, right? So they are looking at their demographics of their customers, their subscription time, the method of payment, the paperless billing type of contracts, and then the service customers signed up for, right? So just look at this. Imagine how the data set would have been so large. And from the large data sets, they were able to come up with this. Very simple, very concise, and so straightforward. Just from the data set, they were able to do some card. They call this card chart. And that card chart actually shows that, sorry, I'm trying to zoom in so you can see properly. That card chart actually shows that they have 1,869 customers at risk. And then they have 2,000 plus of tech tickets and quite a number of information you can actually get from this. The yearly charges are $2.86 million. Monthly charges $189,000. Right. So you can always get quite a number of things from it. From here, you can also see the demographics that you have more female that subscribes to their network, right, than the male category. And out of all of them, just very few of them are what dependents. So you have just maybe depending on the age, people are permitted to use, some of those internet assets there. So you have many things. So it is from here actually that you can bring up your own insights. So this is actually where the whole thing starts from. By the time we go through Power Query and all that, so after doing all of that, we build our own visuals. So after building the visual, then we can start talking about interpreting all of this. So the work of a data analytics expert does not actually stop from here. Anyone can actually get to this point. After today's class, if time permits us, we will get to this point. Or let's say next section, we'll get to this point. But our work will not end there. Rather, it actually starts from there. So we'll start picking up insight. What can we get from this? How can we connect these demographics to their subscription timeline? How can we connect the customers at risk to how the method of their method of payment? How can we compare? You just try to bring 1, 2, 3 variables together and see how you can, create an alignment to make some insight. Quite a number of things to actually learn from it. You have Twitter, this like their Twitter customers, um, let's say for the year or something, and then the type of contracts done by type of internet service. Quite a number of things we're going to be doing, but we won't use these data sets because our own case study is actually quite different from this particular um, one. I just showed us this so that you can see where we are going to and where we are at the moment. It seems I've not really had people's voice, please. Can you just say hello or you want to unmute and just say something? How do you see this dashboard? Is it making sense? Is it looking interesting? Please just unmute and talk. So I would like to hear from us. Lainka, Bisola, please permit me to just mention the first name. So let's talk, let's talk. Lainka, you're mute. You've unmuted already, so you can just go for it. How is the dashboard? Or you want to drop a chat?
It's nice.
Nice, great, 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 great.
The data analysis is good.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Bisola, want to say something? Let's see. Professor
Yeah,
Paul.
it looks good and interactive.
Yeah, very interactive. Thank you. Two more people, so I know you are not sleeping, you are not tired from work. So more people to speak. More people to speak, please. Okay, there's something in the chat box for me. Fascinating, looks interactive. Great, 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 great. And then you can see some other additions they are just putting there. Some of these things you are saying, they are just additions, just to make it more, speaking, just like when you are doing your PowerPoint. Sorry, just a minute. Apologies. So I'll just go ahead and share something else. There was one very amateur one that I've also done before. I'm showing you all this so you can see that, okay, I have a destination. So when you know where you are going to, you know how to work towards it, right? So look at this also, customer-centered trend analysis. So I was trying to show an overview of long-term trend in customer and agent behavior. And I came up with just something few like this, something few, not something so serious, right? So you look at the total charges by payment method, which payment method actually, charges most. You have electronic check, followed by bank transfer, followed by credit card, followed by mailed check, right? You also want to look at the internet services according to monthly charges. Fiber optic is more quite higher than DSL, and then no. So you have a number of things you can actually pick from any of these things you are seeing here. All right, so that's actually where we are going to. That's where we are going to. But before jumping on Power BI, Can we all open that Excel I shared with us, please? Let's open the Excel I shared with us so we can start our own work. Let's open the Excel, please. Let me also open it from here. If you are there, please let me know. The name of the file is I dropped it on. I've dropped quite a number of things on that Telegram today. So, and I also dropped the data set we'll be using. So if you have it, please you can just open it. That's what we'll be using. So the first thing to always do, right, before jumping on your Microsoft Power BI is to understand the data set you want to use. You need to understand the data set you want to use. It's not just about, oh yeah, so I have a data set, I want to go and transform it on what's it called now? On Power BI, on Power Query. No, you need to understand what the data set is all about. So I'm going to give us like 30 seconds to 1 minute. Tell me from that data set, if you have it opened already, from that data set, can you say something about it? What does it look like? Which business is it speaking to? And what can you actually deduce from it? What can you bring out from it? What was it talking about actually? I know you have a background from that case study I mentioned, but for me, what do you think it's talking about? Oh,
Whether or not there's profits.
talking about what?
Whether or not there's profits.
Whether or not there's profits makes sense. Thank you so much. That's like the if you check the column P, check column P, you will see the profits there. So for each of these products, do we actually have any profits? Is it making any sense? Look at the first line, for instance. We have zero profits there. So this simply means that the same thing this product cost us, we are selling from that for that same amount, and that doesn't make any sense. But there will always be reasons for that, right? So either the product is almost obsolete or the product is not really in in in, in demand again. People don't even really want it again. So they go, in order for me not to even make any loss, or before this thing is going to expire or become antiquated, let me just sell it out like that. So that's how a data analyst will reason that, oh, there must be a reason for this, and then they will just draw insight from it. Okay, that's noted. I'm going to add you to the Telegram group. I got that chat. Okay, so let's still look around. Let's check around. I was thinking, so I want to believe someone should see that we have three sheets. We have three worksheets in the whole workbook. One is the order sheet, which is like the main sheet there, or the master sheet. Then you also have the customer sheet, right? If you can see my screen, then you have the employee sheet. So there is something called primary key and foreign key in database administration. We'll do more of that when we get to SQL, when we get to SQL. All right, so you'll discover that in this order sheet, which is the master sheet, the main sheet, there will be something here pointing to customer sheet and employee sheet. There will definitely be something there pointing to customer sheet and employee sheet. That thing here in this order sheet pointing to customer sheet is most likely the primary key. The primary key is like a unique code that only, for instance, a customer can ever have that code. For instance, a very good example is a matriculation number. No other person. I've left university now for some years. Before getting to that school, after leaving that school, when I was in that school, no other person will ever bear that matric number, because the three main things that characterize that matric number is my year of admission, the code for my departments, and what again? I think our number according to I think the alphabetical order. Yes. So and no other person can have that same thing, right? So that thing is called a unique code, and that's unique code. Okay, that's noted. All right, you can send it on WhatsApp too. And so that unique code is very, very key. That unique code is what we are referring to as primary key. So if, for instance, now someone wants to check my results, The only thing you need to know about me is that matric number. Someone wants to know my date of birth. The only thing you need to know is that matric number. Having that matric number can give you access to the extension of my database. So now, I just give you an hint on what primary key actually means. So if you check this place, for instance, you see customer ID. This customer ID is actually a primary key, and it's pointing to the fact that this will MK, because if you want to put all of this information, all of this data rather, orders, customer, employee, you want to lump up everything here, this data set will be too clumsy. It won't make any sense again. So a real or a correct data analyst will find a way to just summarize. You can imagine that the whole of this worksheet, customer, was summarized here, and I'll tell you how. The whole of this customer worksheet has been summarized here. How? Instead of me to come to this place, this same order sheet, and have customer name, then customer contacts, then customer country, then customer this, customer that, before I now have employee ID, employee name, employee title. No, it doesn't make sense. A data analyst will work with codes many times, right? So customer ID, for instance, if you check this customer ID, from here we have Will MK. Now, if you want to have more information about Will MK, you've gotten like Will MK's matric number. The only thing you need to know is copy this Will MK, or just have this Will MK at the back of your mind. Come to the customer sheet, and then you see who Will MK is. This is Will MK here. This is the customer name. The company name of Will MK, our customer. This is the contact person. When it comes to Will MK, this is the contact title, the address, the city, the country. I don't need to stress in quotes this particular main worksheet with other details of this customer when I can just put the customer's ID there and then show me further information about the customer. The same thing is applicable to employee ID. If you check here, all these numbers are not really numbers like that. They are like 005, 004. Excel will, except to start with a quotation mark. Excel will just remove the 00, right? Or an inverted comma, yes. Excel will remove the 00. So that's why you're seeing 54. It's actually not number. When we get to Power Query, we'll correct that. So they are actually codes too. Employee ID 5 simply means a person, an employee whose name is Buchana Steven, who is a sales manager, right? Employees ID fee is actually a person, and that person is Janet, a sales representative, right? So we've had a little understanding of what this worksheet is all about. If you have a question, you can drop it in the chat box. I'm going to respond. So with that understanding, I think we can now proceed to Power BI, right? So it's not just about jumping on the software and then, okay, I got that message, thank you. It's not just jump on the Power BI. You need to understand what the data is talking about before you can jump on it. All right, so the next thing now, sorry, just a minute, please. If you have opened the data set, can you signify, can you let us know? Just put it on the chat box that's opened so that we'll know that. Don't forget what Professor Paul also talked about during our last section. You should follow this video, this demonstration I'm doing on your phone while you're also practicing on the system. That's a very good way to get this thing right. So if you have it open, just type open, let me see. Primary key. Did you get that? Okay. Opened.
Sorry, primary what?
Key. KEY. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I did like
You can call it primary
okay.
key, or you want to call it primary
That's
key.
good.
But another name is just like unique identifier. I said they are unique code. You can call them unique identifier, unique code. So that's why I use the example of a matric number. Okay. Okay, seems quite a number of us have opened it. Let's get like 2 more responses. Just two more responses. All right, because of our time, 30 minutes is gone. So let me just go to Power BI. This, I have quite a number of things open. Okay. So please open your Microsoft Power BI and then let's work with it. But let me open a new one. Something else on this. Okay. Because I have quite a number of things on this one, right? So I'll just open a new one. Uh, and then the next thing I'll do is to introduce us to the environment. That's the Microsoft Power BI environment. Okay, sorry, it's loading, it's coming up. All right, so immediately you open your Microsoft Power BI, it's most likely will bring you to this point. All right, so what it's saying here is select a data source or start with a blank report. So we'll be starting with a blank report. I recall that I mentioned during the last section that Power BI can connect to over 200 sources. And we'll see that now. Okay. So let me just click on the blank report. So what I showed you initially when we started this class, you saw some other things that have been done, and then it's looking so fascinating, fantastic, and interesting. Okay, Lisa, that's not it. Don't forget we have the recording. By this time tomorrow, it should have been in your personal e-portal, so you'll be able to download it. Okay, so you can connect to data from different sources, right? So when we started, we showed you how a finished work will look like. You see other people's canvas, how they built their reports. So this is how they actually started, right? So the whole place was blank before, almost nothing. And the only thing you would see on your this is where we call canvas. This blank space, that's where we call canvas, right? So the only thing you see on your canvas is something asking you to connect to a particular data source. But before going there, let's just look at the Excel environment generally. I mean, sorry, Power BI environment generally. It's looking like Excel, right? Because you discover Excel also has some tabs here, Home tab, View tab, Data tab, and different kinds of tab in Excel. But here in Power BI, we have just Home tab, Insert tab, Modeling, View, Optimize, and Help tab. Okay, Bro Samuel, you can go for it. Your hand is up.
Please, can you add me to the Telegram group so I can also download the Excel file?
Oh, okay. Okay, let me just do that now.
Many thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, all right. So I was talking about the tabs. So you have Home tab, you have your Insert tab. Many of you might be familiar with all these things before, but just permit us to go a bit elementary, just for those who might not be too familiar with the software. So you have your Home tab, your Insert. We'll talk about many of the things there. I may not be able to mention everything now, but as time goes on, you can be so sure that at least we'll touch something there, right? And so when you're also playing around it, you can also touch it. So you have your Insert tab, you have your Modeling, you have your View, you have your Optimize, then you have your Help. You have your Help. All right. So our help comes from the Lord. If you check this other side, then that's where you see the views. In SPSS, for instance, you have your data view, you have your variable view. In some other software too, you have different kinds of view there, right? When you come to Power BI, you have three views, but the latest versions of Power BI has added DAX. DAX wasn't there before actually. This DAX, my colleague Wanda will be taking you through DAX, more like you writing a programming language. So you have your report view. That's the default view to always bring it. That's where you have your canvas, you have your panes, and then that's where you build your report. Then after the report view, you have your table view. Once we are done importing, a particular data set into MS Power BI, then we can easily see the raw data here. right? So that's the table view. Then you have your model view. Model view is more like, like the explanation I gave us initially. Have I started recording? Sorry. Yes. Like the explanation I give us initially, you look at the master sheet or the main sheet or that order sheet, you will see employee ID. Then you see employee ID elsewhere too as another sheet on its own. Then from that other sheet, you saw what's it called? Customer ID, right? Then you check another sheet called customer ID, you are seeing the same thing. So there's a relationship. This is where we establish what the relationship looks like. This is where we establish how the relationship looks like under the model view. So you have four views. Now, normally, if we even to assess students before, how many views do we have on Microsoft Power BI? Three would have been the correct answer. But now, if you are current as a data analytics expert, you know that there are four because dark query view has been added. If you check the bottom part, it's showing all tables. Let me go back to what view. It should show me page here. So it's showing page one. You can add page two to it. You can add page three to it. Very similar to what we have in Excel. While Excel calls its own page, sheet one, sheet two, sheet three. Microsoft Power BI calls its own page one, page two, page three. But there's another thing very unique with Microsoft Power BI. The default view is always your desktop layout view, but you can also do your mobile layout view. You can do your design, your visuals. You can build your reports on a mobile or with a mobile design, right? If you don't want this, maybe you want to model it on your phone because you can also, aside the desktop version of Microsoft Power BI, there are some other versions that can work on your phone. So you want to create a report that you can easily view and edit on your phone. Then you can always use the mobile layout view. That's your sure bet. All right. Then these other parts, that's where the work is. So you have panes, three different panes there, P-A-N-E, three different panes there, right? You have your filter pane, you have your visualization pane, then you have your data pane. Now, what does the data pane means? Data pane is actually what shows that you've loaded some data sets into this particular Power BI interface at the moment. At the moment, it's showing nothing because you've not loaded anything there. So immediately we load that data we are looking at today, or that data set rather that we are looking at today called DAM, that's Data Analysis Masterclass C2 or 2, DAM C2. Once we load it, then you will see DAM C2 here. If you like, you can, because Microsoft Power BI, one other unique thing about it is that you can also source for data in a folder. So let's say, for instance, you have a folder where you dump your weekly reports. So you can bring all your weekly reports together here. It will bring out all the files you uploaded or you've loaded. It will bring everything here. That's the work of data pane, or that's what occurs on data pane. Your visualization pane is what aids your report building. So you already have your data. You want to look at the provinces vis-a-vis the population. You need to choose a visual. Let's say, for instance, you want to choose a stack bar chart. You want to choose a stack bar chart. Then um, you choose this stack bar chart and then you identify the two variables you want to, visualize using that particular visual that you have chosen here. Then you can also edit those visuals underneath. You can select these and then there are a lot of things you can do here. We'll still come to this, so I don't want to do much on this for now. All right, so we have our filter pane too, just like your normal filter. So you have, let's say, for instance, you have like 5 years. You want to filter by year. You want to filter by a lot of things you can do. Then we also have our slicer. Slicer will be here. Slicer and filter, they are almost the same thing, but they are not doing the same thing. They are not doing the same thing. All right, so let's get to work. In 12 minutes time, we'll stretch our legs, so it won't be too long a talk. Now, the first thing is, where do we source for data from? Where do we get our data? Power BI already gave us some list here. You see Excel workbook, because most people will always go to Excel workbook, or right. So just go to your Excel workbook or One Lake Data or SQL Server or you want to enter the data yourself, database, and maybe some other recent data. But now, what do I want to do? I want to get this thing from Excel actually. But before doing that, let's see the other common data sources. Power BI semantic models, data flow, data vast, SQL server. Even if what you want to import or the data you want to work on is in a Word copy, a Microsoft Word or CSV, it's going to get it for you. If, for instance, the data you want to get is on, let's say, CBN sites, I know in fact, all of us are familiar with CBN. You can just say something like www.cbn.gov.ng. Then you click on, of course, if you click on this, that's just like the first page of the site. I'm not sure there's any serious data sets there. There must be a slash, maybe slash, I don't know. You can say maybe something like GDP or something. I don't know what it is. So you can just go to the website for, okay, from this website, I want to get this particular data set. And then you type the URL there and then you get it. Very simple. So it can also get data from URL. You can get data from quite a number of, sources. Let's just say more, so we can just see everything. So this is all. Just imagine, even from a folder. So that's why I was saying initially that if you have some weekly or monthly reports you used to dump in a folder, Power BI is going to get them for you. If the data set is in a PDF, I said initially that you can, instead of you to convert your PDF to Excel using all these online platforms, and we are not so sure if those guys are actually saving our database, you can always be on the safer side by using Power Query. So Excel can extract tables from PDF. You want to convert your PDF bank statement to Excel to analyze your spendings, then Power Query is your best bet. You can use, we can source for data from Access database, from Oracle database. You just play around them. MySQL database, Amazon Redshift, Google BigQuery, at-scale models, warehouses, lake houses. Quite a lot. Quite a lot, right? Quite a lot. Okay, but our own interest today is actually to get it from Excel. Okay, Prof, your hand is up. You can go for it.
Thank you, sir. I want to ask this. If you have a website, you have a link where you can get the data. Is there any way you can add that link to this list?
Yes, but it's not
Okay.
like you add that link itself. You just need to insert that link. Let's do something very practical. Let me go to CBN website. Let me just look for something on CBN website. CBN GDP. Let me use exchange rate. That one is more common. Sorry, just a minute. Input, PHP, it's on down. Okay. You can also just, if you are familiar with any website you need to work with in your own field, you can just go to that website now. Let's just test it together. Just go to the website. Let me see if this one doesn't really have tables, but let me see if it will give me something that makes sense. Web, I believe you can see my screen. www.grid.gov.ng exchange rate, CBN exchange rate. Let me try it. It doesn't really have a table, but it's anonymous for the time, specific API. But if you have one that is very practical, please, you can just give to us so we use it. If you have anyone very practical, just give to us so we use it. So okay, just as I said, there was no table there, so there's actually nothing to display. There's actually nothing to display. Yeah, so I think from there we've been able to establish the fact that it's very much possible to get any data set you want from any website. But in our own case now, we are not trying to get from a website, right? We already have it in a CSV, we already have it in an Excel format. So we just get data and then you click on Excel workbook and then you take it to wherever the download is and things like that. And then you download it, you bring it directly you upload it directly to your Microsoft Power BI. So let me demonstrate that to now. So we need to download directly from Power BI. So once you click on that, click on get from Excel worksheet or from Excel workbook to take you to your files, either it's on download or wherever it is, just download from there directly. And then it will bring you here. So on our worksheets, on our workbook rather, when we're looking at it, we saw an order sheet, employee sheet, and then a customer sheet, right? So we need everything here. So you can only, if, for instance, now you want to work on just order sheet, you just click on order sheet alone. And that, or if you want to work on employee sheet, click on employee sheet alone and that. But in our own case, we are working on the three. So just click on it to be sure, yes, this is what I'm actually looking for. This is what I want to do. Then you click on employee, it's fine. Click on customer. So we check the three boxes there. All right, so the next thing is to load. But in our own case, you don't load. If you have worked on that data set before, then you can load. But in this case, we've not worked on it before, so we transform. And what transform does is actually to help you clean the data. There's a process in data analytics we call data cleaning. Data cleaning has to do with, okay, you just downloaded something, for instance, from Statistics Canada or from the CBN website or data management of Nigerian sites. After downloading it, it is not impossible that the data set is dirty. And what we mean by dirty is it has some missing, some missing values, or the headings are not in the proper shape, or some things would have, shifted and things like that. So you transforming the data will take you to Power Query. Power Query is like a platform for you to edit and to correct whatever you have done. You understand? So I'm going to click on transform. Check those three boxes. Since we need those three data sets, check the three of them and then click on transform. It will bring you to Power Query. So there we are now, Power Query, Power Query, Power Query, Power Query. All right, before we continue, let's just take our second.
Sorry, we're not seeing the Power Query.
We're not seeing Power Query?
No.
Really? I'm there actually.
Okay, we can see now.
Okay, so it will bring you directly to this place, Power Query. So this Power Query, we are using recent versions of Excel. Power Query has been added to it, so just like an add-on option. So you can also use that same feature on Excel, the recent versions. Okay, so here's Power Query. This is where we do our editing, and there are lots of work to be done here. So what I'm just going to do today is to do a kind of rush work, just to rush it and then edit it so that we can return back to Power BI. But before doing that, I know we have just like 50 minutes more, right? So before doing that, we'll just take our second brain teaser. Yeah, second brain teaser, and then it seems we are all getting it. So I need the first three people now. The first one we did, virtually all of us got it, except for those who are not on the call. So this time around, I need just like the first three to drop the answer, the correct answer. We have it. So we have just 2 minutes for this second brain teaser. 2 minutes. You have two sets of data. Set X has an average of 10 and set Y has an average of 20. If you combine both sets into one large data set, will the average be closer to 10, 20, or somewhere in between? Assume both sets have the same number of entries. We have just 2 minutes. The first three people to drop the answer in the chat box, we have it. Please, you don't need to unmute. And I want us to give the exact figure. Give us the exact figure. All right, please have it at the back of your mind and don't forget your what's it called? Your role. You are a data analyst. You are a data analyst and you can't forget that. Sorry, for those who will be watching the video after, the answer is actually 15. And Muyiwa, Bisola, and Prof had that first three to drop the correct answer. So the average will be exactly halfway between 10 and 20, which is 15. So now we are coming back to our Power Query, and the first thing I said is don't forget your role. Your role is a data analyst. I'm taking it as simple as possible. I'm taking it one step at a time now, so that by the time we'll be having our personal project, it won't be difficult at all. That's why you see I'm not rushing it. I can take all of these things I've been saying on this why within an hour, especially if I know the people um that are in the class have a very sound knowledge of Power BI. Okay, so the tabs we have on Power Query will be quite different, right? If you check your Power Query or if you are looking at my screen, you have your Home tab, your Transform tab, Add column, View tools, and Help. Now, let's start with its other queries. Now, for Power Query, you don't call them order sheets, customer sheets, employee sheets. You call them queries here. So we have the orders query, we have the customers query, we have the employee query. So let's start with the order queries, right? So for the order query, now there's something, if you are very familiar with SPSS has, or don't let me use SPSS for example, because I love SPSS too a lot. That's one of my first packages I knew quite better on campus then. Okay, so there is a kind of type you assign to all the responses you're expected to get for a particular variable. For instance, if you look at order ID, this 10248, is it a test like ABC? Is it a number? Is it a date? Is it a scientific node? What is it actually? That is what the type is all about. So you need to click on this 123, know what the type is all about. So you have decimal number, you have fixed decimal number, whole number, percentage. And it's very important, and you will see the reason why it's very important for you to specify a type. It's very, very important for you to specify the type, right? If you come to customer ID, what is the data type? I was trying to use SPSS before because in SPSS, you won't even be allowed to enter a response without specifying a data type rather. So in Power BI too, the kind of data type you specify will determine the kind of analysis you'll be able to do in your reports. So if, for instance, you are taking this order ID as whole number, whereas from my previous explanation, it is nothing close to whole number. It is not even an whole number. It is not even number. It's just a primary key. It's a unique code. It's just like you saying your phone number is a whole number. If your phone number, for instance, is +1432001, that is not whole number. It's just your own unique identifier. No other person in that jurisdiction will have that same phone number. Your matric number, for instance, is not a number. It is actually a primary key, a unique code. That's to be a data analyst anyway, right? So because if you use it as, or if you identify the data type, you specify whole number, by the time you are doing your analysis, then it will be adding all these numbers for you. It will add this 10248 plus 10248 plus 10248. It won't see it as something that is unique again. It won't see it as a primary key again. Instead, it will see it as whole number. So you need to change that. That is part of what data cleaning. Data cleaning is the process of correcting every anomaly in your data sets. So things that are not right in your data sets, you try to correct them. Excuse me. The same thing for your customer ID, employee ID. Then you check other dates too. This format here, the data type should be dates. Is it actually dates? We check the required date. It should be dates. Is it actually dates? We check the ship country. This should be tests. This should be test also. In SPSS, they call it string. This should be whole number. Something like that. This can be whole number. This is like a decimal, right? So that is what we are doing here. And a place like this discount now, these decimal places are too much. We need to round it down, right? So that's what we're actually doing on Microsoft Power Query. So first of all, let's start with this place. Okay, Lainka, your hand is raised. Can go for it, please.
I'm just wondering,
Okay.
because like if we are using this code in SPSS, if you want to treat them, it's like triplicate, and I saw that some like are in triplicate, some are in duplicate
Yeah.
under the other ID. I'm like the 10248 is in triplicate, then the
Yeah.
10249 is in
Duplicates.
duplicate.
Yes. Okay, so
I'm
that's
just
yeah, I got what you're saying. So for instance, I'm very much familiar with Jumia, for instance, right? So if you order something on Jumia, I don't know, but I think that's like the idea. So let's say you want to order a pair of shoe from Jumia or Walmart or whichever one you are more familiar with in your own jurisdiction. So what they will do is to first of all give you a kind of order number. Even if you are buying three things, right? So they will give you an order number. So this will MK, for instance, is buying, let's say, two things, but the same order number, or three things rather, but the same order number was actually given. If you check the order date, you will discover that this is 4th of July, 4th of July, 4th of July. He actually purchased them the same day. So he has the same order ID, but for different products, actually. For different products, or maybe, yeah, for different products, because this product ID is 11 for one product ID 42, another product ID 72 for another product. So you'll be assigned, if you're also making a kind of online purchase like that, I don't know if that's how it works there too, you'll be assigned a particular order ID because it's just an order, just as that order. You said, okay, please, I want meat pie, and then I also want a glass of whatever. It's just an order, right? But in that order, you have different things there. So that's why you have just one order ID appearing three times. It's not going to appear like either duplicate or whatnot. So it's still the same order, and it's good we recognize it like this. That's why we say this like order ID.
okay.
One matriculation number can win three different awards. The matriculation number will appear three times, right? It will appear three times. An employee with staff ID, let's say 003, can be best employee of the year at the same time. There's as the best sales performance, having like three different awards. That employee ID will appear like three times. So this order ID is not insignificant anyway, but it's like a unique identifier for this particular order. Olanka, do you get that?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so if you check this, for instance, now, from all my explanation as regard this order ID, which of these data type do you think is appropriate for order ID? Please, I want us to contribute, please. Which one do you think is the basic decimal? Is it whole number? Is it percentage? Is it time? Is it duration? Is it text? Is it binary? That's additional 5 mark for the first correct answer. Let me check it. Whole number.
When I say binary,
Okay, so I think someone has the answer. Someone has the answer actually. So it tests. And as I think I explained it, you know the reason why it is test, right? So let me quickly take note of that. It's easier to forget. So it's just because we don't want Microsoft Power BI to take note of this, to note this as a number. It will be very, very dangerous for our analysis. We don't want Power BI to take this as a number. So that's why it's better to just make it or test. Once you make it test, oh, I need to explain this picture, but let me complete this. Once you make it test, it automatically takes it like a name. So this William K now, there's no way to repeat itself. It's just William K, William K, William K. If you also make this customer ID a test, it will just in the brain in quotes now of Microsoft Power BI, it is seeing it as this is not a number, it's just like a name. You understand? So it's better to just remove that number feature from it. And by the time we are doing that analysis, I think you understand it better. By the time we are doing it. Yeah, so something appeared now while I was trying to change this. That's one very good feature of Microsoft Power BI. It's called apply steps. I think I was supposed to even explain it before doing some of these things. Apply steps. Take the right side of my screen. You see what we call the apply steps. For every change you make on this Power Query, it will be recorded under these apply steps. You know, when you are using your Excel or your Microsoft Word, for you to get to, let's say, the 5 previous corrections you do, you need to do Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. And after the Control Z 5 times, any change you make again, you can't go back to, the previous corrections you've made again. But in Power BI, even if you've changed something like 20 times, and you want to change the second thing you did, then you can just leave the other ones and go to the second part and remove it instead of undoing all of the steps. So that's the reason for apply. So you see what I mean now. Let me just do one or two practical examples. So under your order ID, we change this one to test. Don't replace, always add as new step. It will add a new step here. You can see this thing I just did now. I can leave it and then change what I've actually adjusted before this without affecting this one. Control Z will not do that. Control Z will just, undo the whole thing, right? So customer ID is actually correct. It should be in test format and it's actually in test data type. Employee ID. Now look at this. This employee ID is not number. So those saying, oh, it should be number, you can see it's not correct because employee ID is actually not number. It's just like your matric number. It's just like your phone number. This 5, I told us when we're looking at that Excel, the 5 simply means 005. Or if you look at 5, who is employee with ID number 5? They will call somebody's name. So that simply means these numbers are not actually numbers in the real sense. They are just code. So it's better to remove the number feature from them and change them to tests. So it's just like your Excel too. When you are changing something, when you are typing a text in your Excel, for instance, the text will always be at the left part of your cell. If it is number, it will always be at the right part of your cell. Okay, you can go for it. 2 hands are up.
I just have a quick question. So are you making this based on the assumption or whatever you know about the organization? Because if a new person is looking at this data set, they probably might not know that employee ID is not actually the ID.
Okay, so they will know. They will know. So if I'm looking at this data set for the first time, yeah, I've worked with this data set over and over, right? But even if I'm seeing it for the first time, by looking at the heading, I'm going to know. If you check through the headers, other ID, they call something ID. So I know that this thing is like an identification number, like an identifier. That's why it's called an ID, right? So IDs should never be added. In your organization, for instance, I want to believe you have a staff ID number. And if your staff ID number is 027, that 027 can never be a number in the real sense. And the way data analyst sees things is quite different from the way every other person will see it. Because to a normal person, and when they are seeing other ID 10248, oh, this 10, you can practicalize what I'm saying on Excel. If you leave it as 10248 and you are doing any analysis, Excel will just sum it up for you like it's a normal number. So you need to remove that feature. You need to remove that power, in quotes, of number from it so that Power BI will just see it as an ordinary text. So it's not like, oh, because I have a good knowledge of the data set. Even if I'm seeing the data set for the first time, I know that once they put order ID, that's why it's important to always study the data set before uploading on your own Power BI. So look at data set. What's this thing talking about? Okay, e-commerce. So this is the industry. This is what it's talking about. If this, for instance, now were to be profits or revenue or cost, I will leave it as number because it is number. It needs to add it for me or give me the average cost or give me the standard deviation. Those ones are numbers. Numbers will automatically give you some arithmetical calculations But I can't do those calculations on employee ID, staff ID, other ID. So it's not based on my own discretion. It's based on what every data analytic expert should know. IDs should be derecognized as number. Bisola, I don't know if that's clear.
Yeah, I understand. And I'm just curious. So, for example, if you're doing a single analysis on just one order ID, right? Just wants to know like how many people perhaps ordered that item. Would you treat it then as a number, or it would still be like an ID?
If I want to know how many people ordered for that item, right? There will be another variable in that data set that will tell me that, okay, look at this for instance. Olayinka, I can see your hand up, I'm coming. Look at this for instance. This is the product ID. From the product ID, I can easily know how many people ordered for this. That's not the only one. If you check the quantity will also tell me the number of, of either it is unit or whatever it is called that was ordered, maybe the kg or the number of units, pieces, and things like that. So there are other things that will tell me, because the customer ID will not tell me that. I mean, the order ID rather won't tell me that. The order ID is just like what I explained the other time. You want to buy quite a number of things on Amazon, and then you want to buy a book at the same time. You want to buy a pair of shoe at the same time. Oh, I love this gown. You want to buy the PD at the same time. Maybe they will just give you one single order number, order ID. Why? Because the same person is buying this same thing at the same time. So for us to be able to track it and trace it easily, we just assign a single order ID to it, and then different product ID will be under it. So all these so-called ID, they are just primary keys and foreign keys, which I would love us to explain better when we get to SQL, because that's when we'll be dealing with relational database. They are very, very important. IDs will never come up as. If you want to know how many times something was ordered for, you can always use other variables in that database instead of, excuse me, the order ID, instead of the order ID.
Okay, so thank you. Sorry, last question.
Okay.
So the reason why I'm asking this question is you did mention order ID, employee ID, all those are just text, right? But product ID is more so whole numbers, right?
It's going to be text.
It's going to be text, but if
Yeah.
in the previous example I gave, if you're doing that kind of analysis, will it still be text or will be old numbers? Sorry, I don't know if I'm asking the same question, but I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
just can you ask the question again? I didn't catch that.
So, like the other example that I just explained, you just finished explaining, right? You said we will look into other variables like product ID.
Yeah.
Right. So, if you're treating product ID as a text instead of another variable, so it wouldn't be a whole
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, so I go you're saying. I wish I can do this on Excel. Excel will make me to like it better. Wait, let me open my Excel. Even if I will take time there, it's better you get it. Sorry, let me open Excel. Okay, good. I have one open already. All right, so we have Excel on our screen, not Power Query again. We'll come back to Power Query. Okay. You know what I want to do now? I want to do a pivot. I just want to show us something very simple. I want to do a pivot right now. It's not an Excel training anyway, but I want to believe some of us are very familiar with pivots. Pivots will help me summarize the whole of this. Imagine here I have over 2,000 rows. Yeah, over 2,000 rows and about 20 columns. So what I want to do is just to summarize everything. So I'll go to my inserts. I'm not going to explain it much because it's not Excel training. So I'll just open the pivot here. Don't forget I want to summarize it too. All right, so this customer ID, let me use customer ID because it's not so much, or let me use employee ID here. This is what we are talking about. These things are not numbers. They are just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, representing a human being. So I can now look at, okay, how much profit are these guys actually making? can see what I have here, sum of profits. It's actually giving me the total, right? And the total profit I have from all these employees is about $270,000. But I can't calculate this and say, okay, 1 plus 2 plus 3, 9, and then the total for this is 45. This won't make any sense. These are not numbers. These are just unique code. These things actually means human being. One stands for one human being who has a name. That one under my customer employee sheet is Bola Andrew, the vice president of sales department. That two simply means no, that's two. That one simply means Nancy, a sales representative. So this actually is Nancy. This actually is Nancy. Nancy, from all our sales and marketing strategy, made a profit of $40,000 last month. So what I'm trying to explain is that you can use any. Okay, so you're asking about quantity. What if I want to know how many quantity was bought and things like that? Now you see a very good example. From here, I'm using Fiverr. I don't want to use Power BI because I will have to skip a lot of things. So I prefer using it to I prefer to use Excel. Okay, so let me bring the product here. If I bring the product here, it won't make any sense. You know why this is not making sense? Because Excel is assuming that these product IDs are numbers. So this product ID, it is adding everything. For instance, this guy, I think Nancy is number one, right? Sales representative. Add the total sum of the product ID is like 14,200. And whereas it's not 14,200, it's just codes. Those things are codes, actually. They are not numbers. They are just codes. So it is only recognizing as numbers because we didn't change that format or we didn't specify to Excel that, guy, this thing is not number, or these things are not numbers, so they are just codes. So it's going to add it up. If you leave it as numbers under Power BI too, this is the same thing you will get under Power BI. It will just identify everything as code. So we can just change it to number, to text. When you change it to text, it won't give you all these kind of calculations again. It won't run all these arithmetical calculations.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. It won't run any arithmetic calculation. It will just see it as, yes, this is just like it is saying this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 as normal, just like text. It will also see this as the same. Okay, Son's hand is up also. I think that's Olayinka. Olayinka, I want to ask a question. Quantity. If I want to know which one is selling more, I can just come to sum of quantity, for instance. I know those ones are actually numbers. This is like the sum of quantity. So, but the reason I'm just using this example, I can also bring this employee here and it will sum it up actually. But I'm using this example to show you the effect of leaving things as numbers in Microsoft Power BI. By the time you are doing your report, it will also give you numbers. Okay. Okay, so if you have any other question, please, let's just ask. Time is fast spent. You have less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, I guess maybe it's an addition, addendum to what I asked earlier on. There is no apply steps in my pin. So I'm assuming you also have to add apply steps so you can see those things.
No apply steps in yours.
Yep.
Cool. That's like a default. That one should even be there actually. Apply steps should be there actually. Okay, maybe we'll come to our view, or it can't even be on that view. Okay, we'll work on it. I'll work on it actually.
Does
But
every other person have on it?
it should be there. If you have your Power BI on, please, you can just speak. You have your apply steps by the side.
Yeah, I have applied step by the side. I think report, do you click on the blank page? I mean, or you just click on the Excel? Report for sure. I mean, report, not really, sorry.
I what we did was to attach. So I went there to where you attach from Excel and went straight to where I downloaded the Excel. So it's normal, the normal way we brought the data into this
And then you're on your
system.
Power Query.
Yes, I'm on Power Query.
Okay, I'm going to look at it. I think I'll just look at it after the class.
Okay.
Don't fear. Okay, so let me just round up this part. Okay. So Sam, you can go for it.
So sorry, I have a quick question, a request actually. So because some of us just joined the Telegram group, I don't know if Mrs. Woody is able to see all the previous information. I can't see them. It's just blank. I guess it's because I don't get. So maybe after the class, you can just help us reshare all the information so
I'm
we
going
can
to
have
do that.
access.
I'm going to do that. I will share.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, so what we've been doing here, am I still recording this class? Yeah. So what we've been doing here actually is to edit each of these columns. We're trying to clean the data, the actual sense. We've been trying to clean data. So for our order ID, we've changed it to a test. Our employee ID too, we've changed it to a test, and I told us the reason. If you don't change it to a test, the same thing I did on other pivots is going to happen. Microsoft Power BI is going to take it as numbers and it will calculate, or it will give you some arithmetical calculation anytime you use any of these. I'm going to practically do that when we get to the visuals. I hope we still get there in the next 20 minutes. So I'm going to do that so you can see why we are trying to avoid it. Then we'll now go back to, we'll come back here, change them to numbers, then try to create that report. It's going to be messed up. So on your home part, and you know we are learning as data analysts, right? Whenever you see ID, in fact, it's very important that you take mastery of all the columns in any data set you are working on. That's why you have that liberty to always remove any column that won't work for you. I mean, I'm the one that want to provide, I want to provide the insight. So if I don't need the particular column and I know this thing is going to disrupt my work, I'll rather yank it off. Right, so we have the order date. The order date is by default date. So that one is okay. Required date, that one is okay. Ship, those ones are tests, very much okay. Product ID can't be number, it has to be a test. Why? Because it's actually a unique identifier. This 11, for instance, can be detergent. This 42, for instance, can be a gown. This 72, for instance, can be a wristwatch. This 14, for instance, can be a footwear. So they are just numbers. All right, the product name, test, that is okay. No, they are not numbers, they are just codes rather. Then the unit price is decimal, and that is very correct. Decimal, that's very correct. Yeah, you can see it's to one place decimal, and it's okay. Quantity is whole number, yeah, but it actually depends. If you are working with all these quantities that have to be kg and things like that, then it might be decimal. So sales amount is in decimal, but I don't think that decimal is okay. It has some decimal, so we can leave it like that. This discount is looking so weird, so we need to change it. And how are we going to change this? You can just bring it down a bit, maybe to two decimal places. I always bring it down to two decimal places. So you go to your add column tab, go to your add column tab, and then you come to this part of it from number. That's Ribbon code from number. And you say round in there. Let me come back to my. So you first of all highlight this. Just click on the heading discount. Excuse me. Excuse me. So you just click on this, and then add column. Come to your add column tab from number Ribbon, and then rounding down, rounding, and you see round down. Instead of clicking on your round down, since we want to specify two decimal places, you can just click on round. And that round will now give you the opportunity to tell how many decimal places. So you can just say 2 or 3 or whichever number you want to put. Then it's going to correct it to 2 decimal places. So I think it should have gone through. I clicked on 2 decimal places. Specify how many decimal you want to round to 2. So normally this should have become 2. I wouldn't know why it's not going down. So you can please try it at your own end too, and tell me what the result is, please. What's the result at your own end? Is anyone trying it? Because it seems not to be going
I
here,
tried mine, it didn't work.
so it should.
I tried it.
Except-
It doesn't work.
Okay, except something is wrong, so it should work. Um, Because if you round down, it's not going to make sense. So it's always good to round to a specific figure. So you can see it messed up the work to an extent. So instead of doing Ctrl Z, you just need to remove that step. And then if you come back to normal, okay. So come back to this discount. So what could be wrong? What could be wrong? What could be wrong? Round up, round down, then round to two decimal places. If something is wrong with that step. Sorry, let me just take a look at it. Yeah, each number rounds to. That's correct. So what's up? So even from the DAX, it's showing it is correct. So I'm wondering why it is not rounding down to two, but we'll come back to that. The normal thing is to round down. That's just the normal thing to do, rounding, and then instead of saying round down, because round down might just bring the whole thing to abnormal figures. So you just say rounding and then round dot 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 to specify two or one or whatever you want to use, and then it's going to bring it down. So we'll come back to that to know why that is not working here. So net sales amount, I think it's fine too. You may want to round down to decimal places. Two decimal places too. I can see the same thing is not changing here. If you look at this 53.84, it should come down to two, but it seems not to. Let me change it from here. See if it will work. Okay, doesn't work. So we'll come back to that. Decimal especially. The sales amount is 1.2, which is fine, showing decimal. The profit is showing decimal, which is fine too. So we don't actually need this. You can just delete it. We don't need it. Remove. And we don't need this too, so you can remove. Remove. Oops, I think I made a mistake. Can remove this too. Okay, so I think every other thing is fine. Applies that decimal. We'll come back to that decimal. Now, if you come to that's for order sheet. Once you are good with order sheet, you can just leave it. And then you come to your customer sheet. Now, if you look at this customer sheet, can someone just tell me what is wrong with this customer sheet, just at a glance? What do you think is wrong with this decimal sheet?
The heading is wrong.
The heading is wrong. Who said that, please? I think that's Bisola, right? That's very brilliant. Thank you so much, Bisola. And that's 5 marks to you too. The heading is from just at a glance. So if you had continued immediately, after loading the worksheets from Excel, and then you just press load instead of transform, you just discover that how come this thing is not even making sense? It's not showing me the right headings. So that's one of the reasons why you need to clean the data first by transforming it. So we have a problem here. The problem at a glance is that the heading is wrong. It's showing us column 1, column 2, and now the first row is now showing us the heading. So that simply means something is wrong. So you can come to I think home, just come to home, come to your home tab, and then come to this transform ribbon. Let me go back. So anywhere you are clicking on here, just come to your home tab, come to your transform ribbon, and then you see something like use first row as headers. Use first row. So you want to tell Power BI that this first row, guy, you are making a mistake. Oh, this first row should be my header, right? So correct yourself. So you just click on use first row as header, and that's going to correct itself. So you can see the whole thing is perfect now. So we have the customer ID, which is by default test. Customer name test, this one is test, address is test. I think everything here is test. That is fine. So let's leave this place and come to employee. All right, so I don't want to talk, please. Employee ID, what should it be normally?
Text.
To be a test, thank you. So leave it as a test. Don't replace, as I said, always add new step. And then what if my manager is saying, guy, what's wrong with you? Why are you separating last name from first name, my friend? Join them together. How do you think I would do that? My manager is saying I should join this and this together. How am I going to do that? Can someone just guess? So what we want to do is to combine two columns together. So my manager is saying this thing is waste of time now. You have first name here, you have last name here. So just click on this and then hold your control and then click on this just to highlight these two. And then you right click on any of them. You right click on any of them. Are we together? Let me do it again. I don't want to waste my time and space. So my manager is saying put last name and first name of the employees together. Right. So I'll just click on last name, I'll hold my control key, click on first name, and then I'll right click here. And then when you right click, you see something here showing you merge columns, right? So that simply means that place where you have your last name, that place where you have that column where you have your first name, merge them together. So I've clicked on that. Now I need something to be in between, or do I just want to make them Buchanan and Steven without any space? No, so I need to put a separator. The separator I'm going to be using in this case is space, right? So what will I call the name of the new column? I'll just call it, let's say, full name. Don't forget you can put space normally. So just call it full name. And then I'll click on my OK. And that is it. So there's a space in between. There's a space in between. That makes sense. All right. Another thing I can do, though I don't have much time again, let me just quickly do that. Let me quickly do that.
Sorry, what if you want to make the first name and then last name at the other side instead of last name first and first name? That's the way from the columns.
Okay, like you want to make it, for instance, Steven Buchanan, right?
Yes.
Okay, there's a way we could have just shifted that. Let me. There's a way you can just click on this full name, for instance, then double click and drag. Then after the dragging, then you can now merge it. So you would have changed the position like that. I don't know if you got that. Hello, sir. Can you hear me? Hello.
I didn't get that. But maybe later, so that will not take time. We can try that later.
Okay. Okay, there's something nice that should have been added. Come to your view tab and always check this box, column quality. Come to your view tab, always check the column quality. I will have to go through some specific point again during the next section so that I was actually trying to avoid rushing everything up. But it's like I have a goal in mind. I just want us to see how the visual will look like, especially the reason I have to change IDs to tests. But I don't think I need to prove that point today because we have just less than 10 minutes. All right, so just click on your column quality so that at least at a glance you can easily see if there are errors. Though you still need to check, even if it's showing you 0% error, you still need to check. And then if there are empty cells there, it will show you empty. So empty cells and empty cells. So we need to take them out. Yeah.
So I just have a quick question. What would an error look like or be?
It will look like what we just did here. You're saying what will an error look like, right?
Yeah, because right now it's showing 100% valid. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious, if you had an error, what would that look like?
Yeah, so for instance, when we started this, customer ID was actually a row. So the headers were wrong, right? So that's like an error. Or for instance, you have some things that are missing, some data that are not correct. or they are just scattered. So it will not be 100% actually if they are scattered all around.
So for the header, it would have given us like an error.
But no, 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 no,
Assuming
no, no. For the header, it won't give us an error. You know why?
Okay.
Because it does not even know what the headers are.
Okay.
So for the header, it's not going to give us any error. It will still show 100%. Don't forget it's an AI. It doesn't really have that. Yeah, so it won't give us error. But if there are some messy things around that data set, then this valid might not be 100%.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And that's why even when it is showing valid, we still need to go through it. Imagine that this customer ID was just on first row. All the headers were first rows. It will still show us 100%. Imagine that some data sets are not having, sorry, some columns rather are not having the right data type. It will still show us valid 100%. So we still need to check through it. Okay, where was I? Okay, so we've all checked this column quality. That's great. So another thing I just want to play around with. I'm sorry, those in Nigeria, if they are still on the call, I want to believe they will have slept up. Let me just quickly show something before we go. Now, look at this. What if my boss, let me go to customer ID. Okay, yes, let me use this as explanation. Okay, someone was asking a question the other time. Let me practicalize something. Look for trouble here. All right, so this is the company name, right? Will MP simply means Will Mancala, right? Now, I want to make it first name alone. I want to separate the first name and the last name. Just opposite what I did here. I had to merge the columns, but here I want to split the columns, right? So I'll come here, just right click, and then come to split column. It will ask you how do you want to split the column. Is it by delimiter, by number of characters, by position, by lowercase? So we choose by delimiter. And then the default separator we want to use is the space, right? And then you can click on your OK. I don't actually want to do that now, but there is a place I'm actually going to. You can see it has actually splitted the whole thing. But that's not where I'm going to actually. No, 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 no. There are some things that I don't want. Sorry. If you come to your view tab, then you see your query settings here. Just click on it. Please, can the person hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Can you try that now? The problem was that you don't have that apply steps and then it's not showing that query settings. So just come to your view tab here and then click on query settings and then that thing will actually show up here. So I want to remove that last thing I did. Splitting the columns. Splitting the columns. I want to remove it. Yeah, removed. For it to spoil the whole of my work. Okay, are you good now? Do you have the apply steps?
Yes, I do now.
Oh,
Thanks.
great. All right, so if any other person has that challenge, you just come to your view tab and then query settings, you'll see it. I want to remove mine again because I need to see the end of this page. So now what I want to do is, my manager does not like this idea of Will MK because he is not a data analyst. So the guy is just saying, I want the full name of this customer. Stop giving me what is Anna, what is trade H, what is big, what is to print. Give me the full name. I said, sir, this is the right thing to do. He said, no, I want the wrong thing. I said, no problem, right? Let me give you the wrong thing. So there is something called append queries. Append queries. I think that's under home. Yes, so under your home, look at this combined ribbon here. Under the home tab, you will see merge queries and then you will see append queries. Merge queries and append queries. So now there is a difference between the two actually. And I will illustrate that difference on Excel, and that's where we'll end today's class. That's where we'll end today's class. So if, for instance, I'm sharing my Excel, I want to believe you can see my Excel. We have student data here. Let me use something many of us are familiar with. And then we have their matric number, we have the name, we have the age, we have the department, right? So here we have, I'm sorry, I just want to use random names in case you see your name. Then we have Jeanette, then we have John, then we have Please give me another name now. No, that's not even matric number. That's our names. And we have Jason. This one is 12 years old. This one is 14 years old. This one is 11 years old. What I'm doing is hypothetical, so don't mind me. So this one is a science. This one is a math. This one is an English. This department is literature. The matric number is Q112. Q this. There's Q this. There's Q this. All right. So what is the difference between merge queries and append queries? And it's a very simple interview question if you are going for a data analyst role, right? So merge query, or let me start from append query. Append query is just like you saying bottom up. That's the best way I love explaining it. Append query, right? Let's see what I'm doing. Append is bottom up, while merge query is right left. So when you're talking about append query, it simply means there's an existing database. This existing database, both append and merge query are saying, I want to add to this database. But while one is creating additional rows, the other one is creating what? The other one is just like an extension of existing information. I will explain the two now. Now, append query will give you, we have 4 people in this class already. Abisola, Janet, John, and Jason. 4 people in the class already. What append query will do is to increase the number of people in the class by saying, okay, we have 3 new students. This one is Buki. This other one, 19 years old. And then doing, let's say, tech. And then we also have another one date. Oh, no. Existing. 1, 2, 2. And that one's name is Tim. And that one is 15 years old. Then let's also say sign. So this is append query. You are adding to the existing database. You are bringing in new data, right? But merge query simply means you are adding to the existing data. That's why we call it right left. Now, for instance, we want to extend this scale, all of residents. This all is called, I'm sorry if I'm using our all and you don't know what it means. This one is called, let's say, Mary all. This one is called, let's say, Fudge. Sorry, in case you don't know what it means, PG all. This other one is called CF all. This other one, let me just look for more A. Don't let me say more A because I don't get it. More all. So now, we already have Abisola. We already know she's 12 years old. We already know she's in a science class, but we don't know the all of resident. Merge query, we add to the existing information. Append query, we do what? We create new database, right? So that's like the difference between the two. We add to the existing database. So let me come back to, because we'll be using one of them now. The time is gone. So our next class, what we'll just be doing for our next class is to merge queries. What we're doing is to merge queries. We'll try to bring in what we have here as customer ID. I mean, what we have here as the customer name. We'll create something new here under the other sheet or others query. So we want to see the full name, and we don't have the full name on this sheet or on this query. So we want to bring the full name, just like you using your VLOOKUP in Excel. So we want to do a kind of lookup using that append. We want to use that append or merge queries, either of the two, or we'll use one actually next week, next section. We want to use that particular tool to bring up this company name and then merge it here, or replace this customer ID with it. So that's what we'll do next class. Before I take any questions and then we'll round up, let's just look at our last print Caesar and then just within the next 2 minutes, and then that will be all. Please, the first 3 people to drop the answer. Thank you. I think Abisola had a mark the other time too. We need the first 3 people to drop the answer, please. A data analyst earns $20 an hour. After a promotion, their hourly wage increases by 25%. If they work 40 hours in a week, how much do they earn after the promotion in that week? Someone dropped an answer already. 1,000, 1,000. Who is the third person? Bisola to said 1,000. Okay, so it's like all of us are saying 1,000. Is everybody wrong? Or are we all correct? Let's check it. So what is our answer? So the answer is actually 1,000. After the promotion, the hourly wage becomes this. So that's the calculation actually. And the correct answer is 1,000. Thank you so much, Prof. Paul, Samuel, Bisola. Those are it seems the 3 of them are so consistent with the calls, and that's quite very encouraging. All right, so before we go today and then before we bring up our scoreboard, I would like to take questions. No, we've gone beyond 2 hours already. I'm so sorry.
Thank you so much, Toby. I just wanted to confirm, how do you remove all this? In the colon, you see valid error empty, valid error empty. How do you remove that part of the colon? Let's say you want to go back to normal.
Value error empty in what terms?
So in my customer colon, I can see, there was a place that showed valid error empty for each column. So it's coming out.
Yes.
Take that off. So if I want to take that off,
you want to take it off, so you can go to your view tab. Under your view tab, you see column quality. You can just uncheck the box.
Okay, column quality. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just uncheck the box.
That percentage, I still don't understand it. Maybe in the next class, I will.
Which percentage is that?
When you choose okay, quality 90%, error 0%, and so how does that apply on a column?
Okay.
Like the other time you did one.
Yeah, so I think I explained it. So when it is you're referring to the valid error and empty, right?
Please. Yes, please.
Yeah, so when the data is a bit messed up, just at a glance, the column quality can easily tell you at a glance that, oh guy, your column is not valid. Maybe because you have some empty cells there. It's going to flag that. So that's the essence of that valid error empty. But I was even saying that even if it is showing 100%, it is AI. It doesn't know some correct things sometimes. So it might still be wrong by saying 100%. So you still need to go through it and be sure that you need to be very sure that you are doing the correct thing by checking the data type and then going through the other part of the queries to be sure that there are no wrong data type there.
Okay, so for example, in customers, you see company name and it says valid for 90%. So what do I check in company name that would help me get to
most likely there are some wrong in there. Most likely there are some wrong some empty cells there.
Empty cells. Oh, okay. Like the ones that wrote no.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
By the time you delete just no, then you should have
everything.
Just now. Okay, maybe that's the only error there in that column.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually.
See if I can delete it. Can I delete the no company's name?
And by the way, there shouldn't be no there actually.